Bob Chick along with David Bay back for another edition of TLR. David, what's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Just getting settled back in from after a good Fourth of July weekend down in Chicago, and getting ready to get unsettled and head out west to Vancouver to cover another show this weekend. So looking forward to that. It'll be my first time on the west side of Canada, and I hear great things about Vancouver and a really good lineup as well.
Yeah,
So
Vancouver's a great place to go visit. It's a little out of the way, a little closer for you than me, so that's good. I'm actually shooting the complete opposite way. We got
other
the
way.
Charlotte Europa this weekend. Ed and Betty Pariso, of course, putting that one along with Scott Templeton, Eric Hillman, and the usual Europa crew. So it should be a blockbuster event, my friend. We got some men's 212 where I'm going.
Who's all going to be there? I saw John Meadows, Dobromir Deliv is going to be there. A couple of guys from Chicago. So
yeah, we got it's a decent lineup. You gotta. We always bring him up, but I love the people's champ, John Meadows. He just keeps putting it out there. You know, he told me he'll go to every show he can and try to earn his way to the Olympia. So it's you got to admire the tenacity.
yeah, I talked to John at Chicago, and he was bigger than he normally is. He was about 220 on stage, he said. So John's his physique is what it is, and his structure is what it is. But he can bring a little bit different looks depending on whether he goes with the ultra grainy, nasty, shredded look he brought at the Arnold Classic. He was trying to be a little bit fuller. Essentially, you're getting the same physique, but again, just a little bit different looks for him. So, I think he said he was going to go back and just try to just be as grainy as he possibly could for Charlotte and see how that worked out. So, Tricky Jackson's going to be there as well. Milton Martinez, so he's running into Raul Carrasco. He's running into some of the guys that placed ahead of him in Chicago, but a lot can happen in a week. And again, if he goes back to the ultra conditioning look, might push him up a few spots. But
yeah, he's gonna have to beat somebody out just purely on graininess and muscle. That might mean he has to bring it down a notch, not up, because I'm not so sure. He's always at 212 on the dot. I'm actually there as the guys are weighing in. I mean, he don't have a quarter pound to spare, but I'm not so sure that works for him. It may be actually working against. You go the other way, this guy can be as grainy and as ripped as anybody on this earth. And I think that's kind of the way to go, but he's got to watch it because he'll tend to get blocky if he gets closer to 220. So, he could do well. Like I say, it's a smart play, though, hitting all these shows, get those points, John. So we're rooting you on, buddy. Kind of get you that Olympia lineup. 2 words for you, my friend. 2 words and 2 words only. Big country.
Big country. Dallas McCarver, man, I went back and I'm looking at the play-by-plays and some of the comments, and I almost feel bad, like I was disrespecting some of the other guys by saying, hey, Dallas made these guys look like little kids. But with the combination of his height and just how broad he was, it's even now. I mean, for as shocking or as taken aback as I was seeing it in person, even now going back and looking at pictures, it's still pretty impressive how much he dominated that lineup. And it's not a lineup of small guys. The guys on the forums are, well, these guys aren't that big, and these guys aren't like, like Akeem Williams and Brandon Curry and Micah Lockett are small guys. I mean, granted, they're not Ramy and Kai Green, but by no means are they little dudes. And when Dallas can make guys like that look a lot smaller, that's saying a lot.
Well, let me tell you something. You mentioned Akeem. We'll get into Dallas in a second, but Akeem Williams is a talent. I mean, this kid has got as much muscle as anybody, including Dallas McCarver. He looks very Ronnie-esque to me when he walked out there. This guy's got more beef, but he's just too heavy. I mean, he just literally needs to bring it down. I talked to him a little bit after prejudging. He's got to bring it down. The funny thing is he mentioned something about like 6 pounds. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a great start, buddy, but that's about halfway home. You got to be about, this guy's 290 pounds, bro. He needs to bring it down about 12 to 15 pounds, and he can win any show he goes in.
Yeah, I would say at least 15. I had talked to him after finals as well, and had the same discussion that you and I have had on a couple of occasions, that some guys, when they diet for shows, and not just some guys, a lot of guys, tend to judge their progress off whichever body parts are coming in the quickest,
right,
or whichever looks the best. And you can't do that at all. You have to diet until your absolute worst body part is in the type of condition that's needed to win shows. And his upper back is literally 8 weeks behind everything else, and that's being a little bit generous. I mean, his when he turns to the side,
Right.
his legs pop. He's got strided glutes. His quads have good detail from the front. His front double bicep was one of the most ridiculous front double biceps you're ever going to see. I mean, it's up there with Rulli as far as just cartooniness and just shaking your head. But when he turns around, his upper back is just like I said. It's at least, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks behind the rest of everything else. And I know how much it sucks to diet and get into contest shape and all that stuff. But he has to suffer to the point where how his legs look now, that's how his upper back looks. And until that happens, he's always going to be big enough where it shows like Chicago and if he does, a show like Vancouver coming up, and he's going to be in the mix for a top 5 spot at all those shows just on how massive he is. But if he wants to be winning those shows and wants to get a top 10, top 15 look at the Olympia or even get to the Olympia, he's going to have to get that upper back detailed. And until he does, he's going to be hanging around that 4th, 5th spot at a lot of these shows.
Well, that's not going to quite. I mean, a guy of his caliber, like I say, he's got genetics to die for. That guy's got some muscle. He's got a relatively small waist for a big man. Like you say, he's put together. But without that detail against these guys, and speaking of which, we talk about the small guys. Now, things are in relative terms here, guys. I get on the boards, bro, and I'm looking at some of these threads. This guy, Brandon Curry, should go to the 212. John De La Rosa should go to the 212. I don't think people understand. Listen, they may be short, but they're not small. There's a difference, okay? They're not even close. John De La Rosa and Brandon Curry aren't even close. And Brandon, I thought, was very much improved this show. It actually looked to me like he actually did bring his lower body up. And what's not relative, David, is unless you're there, and I know these guys like to bust my balls for saying, unless you're there in the front row, you're not seeing them.
Of course. Both of us had to be there.
You know why we say that? Because we're there. Because it is a difference. Because, yes, it does look different from the table than it does from 20 rows back, or worse, being on the internet looking at pictures or video after. No, it does not do it justice. It's a whole different animal. But Brandon's upper body is very well put together, by the way. One of the most beautiful physiques that we have on the circuit right now. But the bottom line is his legs aren't small. They're just small in comparison to his upper body. But he's made great strides in bringing that physique up. But him making the 212 or a De La Rosa, these guys aren't even in the ballpark.
No, my video feed froze up, but I'm just going to keep talking like it didn't.
I thought you were just stunned by that admission.
Just stunned.
Looked like the Shatner pause to me, taken to a new level, bro.
No, I tell you what. The one guy was talking about how I was talking about Brandon Curry and De La Rosa, and somebody I don't know, I forget who it was saying that Curry needs to drop to the 212, and I brought up De La Rosa just as another guy, and then he said, well, De La Rosa absolutely dwarfs Curry, and I
dwarfs him.
I was like, well, show me pictures. And he said, well, you're the online editor. You find them. I'm like, okay, I will. I'll go to the show that I was at, which was the Arnold Classic South Africa, where both of those guys were on stage next to each other, and I watched it in person.
They're about the same size, aren't they? I mean, actually.
Yeah, I mean, they're both, Brandon might be an inch taller than John, and John's quads probably have a little bit more size. But as far as...
Nobody's dwarfing anybody.
No, nobody's dwarfing anybody. And for these guys to sneak down to 212, that's not happening.
No, you got to be. Listen, let me give you guys a little bit of insight here, okay? In order to successfully get into the 212 division and be a guy that's in the open that should go there, you have to be competing in the teens. You got to be 218, 217, 219. 220 would be an absolute max. And that's assuming that the guy isn't doing well because he needs to drop a few pounds, okay? That's a guy that can be, if you're sucking it down and you're in the 230 range, you're not close to 212. It's not.
No, I mean,
it's not like sucking up 3 pounds, David. You know what I mean? Like drying out. It's not the deal.
No, that's such a long way to go. And we hear guys that get down into the high teens and they still have to suck down. And it's like, guys like John Meadows, I mean, yeah, he might get on stage at 220. But he's pulling down, 216, 214 leading into the show. And sometimes they're doing some crazy stuff to make that 212. So if you got a guy who's 225 on stage, and look, and if anybody thinks Brandon Curry and John De La Rosa are that much less than 225 on stage.
They're
I'm
not.
telling you, no, they're not. To pull down to 212, it's just not happening. You know, and the thing is, when you see some of these 212 guys up close, I brought up Dobromir Daliv. He was right at 212. You were there. I was
That's
sitting
right.
right behind the scale. You know, he had to drop his sandals and his pants, and he weighed right in at 212. Now I was standing next to Dobromir, and I stood next to Brandon. There's no size comparison there whatsoever. I mean, it's not even remotely close. But you know, I mean, it's for guys to say that these guys are gonna, you know, drop into the 212. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's certainly not realistic, but David, clearly nobody's dwarfing anybody except for Dallas McCarver. Now, he was dwarfing some people on stage, and I say that with all due respect. Personally, I don't find it disparaging to put that commentary out there. I mean, listen, we observed just like anybody else, but I could tell by the judges' reactions and talking to them afterwards, they were impressed. I mean, it's not that often that somebody comes out and dominates a field like that. Akeem Williams certainly could have been neck and neck with him, except he wasn't in shape. But the other guys, when you talk about dwarfing somebody, you're really talking about an overall size. And clearly being the height that Dallas is and the width that he is, yeah, I mean, he just dominated.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we really don't see much in the IFBB is guys that are over 6 feet tall anymore. I think, you know, one of the reigning taller guys was Dennis Wolf, and Dennis is, you know, 6 feet or 6'1", and I think Dallas is every bit as tall as Dennis, maybe a little bit taller. But I mean, that has a lot to do with it. You know, most of these guys, I mean, if you look at the guys who were up there, Brandon, Lockett, Akeem, Johnny Jackson, most of these guys are in the 5'8" range, I would say about.
That's
and you get Dallas almost 6'2". He's a half a foot taller. And structurally, he's just wider. He's just working with a bigger frame. I mean, I'm not going to say that Dallas McCarver has more muscle on his bones than Akeem Williams, because I don't think that's a fair call. He's just a bigger kid with a bigger frame. And when you add 6 inches of height against most of the guys he's standing next to, he's going to look more imposing. And it's going to be, you know, we talked a lot about the Olympia, but it's going to be the same thing there. Phil's probably 5'8", Dexter's probably 5'7", 5'8". Ruli Winkler's in that ballpark. Sean Roden's a little bit taller. Ramey's about 5'10". But if Dallas does make it in that first call out, which I think he can, he's going to have that same height structure effect that we saw in Chicago. Now, granted, he's going to be standing next to a Ramey, so I don't know that width is
right.
width is gonna dominate anybody.
But you know what? But he can hang though, and that's the key. Is you can hang. If you can hang with Ramey, you're doing pretty damn good. You know, in terms of overall size and or muscle and all that. But you know, that remains to be seen. In my opinion, I'd like to see Dallas. Obviously, we're at the 12-week mark now, so you're not really looking at putting on a whole lot of beef between now and the Olympia. You're actually looking kind of in, you know, sliding into second base here, you know, in terms of just kind of gliding into the show. But I would like to see him about 10% sharper for the Olympia is all.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has to be sharper. There's two things he's got to do. One, he's got to be sharper, and two, he's got to work on flipping out his lats and that rear lat spread. And that was a big point of discussion. And it looked like what he was doing is, and we had talked about this in the video, he was trying to flex his lower back at the same time he was hitting a lat spread. Yeah. And it's kind of like for the guys who you know, have competed and stuff, you know, when you're hitting your back relax shot during your quarter turns, sometimes you're trying to flip your shoulders out a little bit and tighten your lower back, as opposed to just really flipping your lats all the way out. And I think that's what he was kind of trying to do, is mimic how he would hold his back and rear relax shot, where with that lat spread, you just need to flip them out as wide as you can. You know, Dallas is you guys seen his interviews and stuff like that. He's a smart kid. He'll fix what needs to be fixed. And he got significantly better, you know, in a month's time last year from Sacramento to the Olympia. So I don't doubt whatsoever that he'll be much improved from Chicago to Las Vegas.
Yeah, by the way, for those who don't know, and certainly, you know, we know Dallas a lot better than most, but he's pretty funny. I mean, he's got a pretty good sense of humor. And that little piece he did with you, which actually cracked me up when he starts going off on the haters and the internet gurus, you know, that are giving him advice. And listen, half of that's tongue in cheek, guys. He wasn't being, there was no meltdown or anything. You can see he's smiling and stuff, but he makes up a good point in there, which is, look, you're not telling me anything I don't know. So when you sit there and, you know, well, he needs to do this, and well, he needs to do that, and You know, by the way, that's the voice we use, of course, for internet trolls all the time. That, you know, hey, what are you doing?
Hey,
Why don't you get your back bigger? That's the voice we use.
yeah.
The bottom line is, yeah, listen, he's well aware of what he needs to work on. You're not telling him anything. He's got mirrors in that gym he trains at. I know it's not, you know, customary for gyms to have mirrors or homes, but he does have a few. So he's, listen, it's a work in progress, but, you know, keep in mind, the kid's what, 24, 25 years old, David? That's
25 years old. Yeah.
so,
So
you know,
this is
listen,
only. I mean, here's the thing. This is only his third professional competition.
yeah, that's
I
crazy.
mean, I think people forget that too. This is his third time as a pro, and you know, to be honest with you, I don't think he's been on the mic that much as far as interviews and things like that. You know,
No.
I mean, I don't think we had anybody doing interviews at the California show. You know, we talked to him at the Olympia before the show last year, and then now, and you know, it was funny when I was doing the interview. I was laughing. I mean, I understand on the forum side, you know, where guys are just naturally going to comment, oh, his back needs to be, you know, his back needs to be this, his back needs to be that. But some of the guys just take it too far. And Dallas did bring up a good point and something that I deal with on a very regular basis as far as talking to the pros and stuff. I don't go on the forums anymore. There's too many people talking trash, you know, and then we go back to the forums to say, okay, we're going to clean it up. And then people get pissy because they think we're over censoring. So there's this fine line or gray line. I don't know which one it even is.
It's either a line or it's an area. It's got a gray area, fine line. You got to pick
area where we want to let the forum members speak their mind and give opinions, and that even on the pro bodybuilders. But at the same time, we would like to hope that there would be a level of respect for these guys for being pros, and that seems to be missed. You know, I was talking about forums the other day with with Steve Blackman, our owner, and he brought up an interesting thing and about the staying power of the forums is that you can always make a screen name on the forums and nobody ever has to know where you are. And we take that for granted because on Facebook, you know, the Facebook discussion groups and stuff are growing, but you have to use your real name. And so when you say something stupid or you say something rude, you're going to be held accountable for it because your real name is on there. Where the forums, there's always a level of anonymity, and guys are probably going to be a little bit more loose-lipped as far as what they say in regards to the pro bodybuilders.
Well, listen, there's opinions and there's qualified opinions, so you got to take it with a grain, you know, as to what it's worth to you. Listen, it's easy to be anonymous and just talk complete garbage, but some of this stuff to me is like the king has new clothes kind of a story where, listen, Dallas's back is not bad. You know, you see this stuff, you think the guy's back's horrible. I mean, listen, the guy's got a damn good back, but it's like the Phil Heath being narrow talk.
Phil Heath.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I've known Phil a whole long time, and
he's got narrow clavicles. He's never going to win.
People don't even know what they're talking about. You know, listen, meet Phil in person and tell me the first thing that comes to your mind is he's narrow. No, his arms are ridiculously big, but he's not narrow.
No, this guy's got the narrowest set of clavicles I've seen all week.
Yeah.
Oh,
so did Flex Wheeler, but he seemed to do okay himself. Speaking of
Another
which, we got a
narrow
lot of great
clavicle.
review on the Flex interview. And speaking of which, it's a perfect segue, David. Segue. So Sean Ray has obviously been very outspoken and pretty much anything. That's what Sean does. But anything from the Kevin Levrone going in the Olympia stuff to Flex Wheeler, obviously he was an intricate part of Flex's past and competing in that era. So we wanted to give Sean a platform to come on. We were hoping to do that this week, but everybody's been traveling, and we're lucky to actually get this out as I'm off to the airport literally the second we hang up. So we're going to have Sean on this week coming up, and I want to give Sean
we might give. We had a meeting yesterday with Peter. We might be giving Sean his own uncensored. You know what? Just put Sean on the camera and just let him go because God knows he.
Maybe we can just do that, but
enough talk. Yeah, we'll definitely have him on the last rep, but we're working on something for Sean, sort of West Coast uncensored. We're not sure what we're going to call it yet, but
you know,
maybe we'll just we'll copy our folks over on the other place and just call it Ask Sean Ray, and then
that's original.
Let the forum members, right? Let the forum members. No, we won't call it that.
No.
Let the forum members ask Sean questions and just kind of let him go off and do what he does best. Because on the forums, a lot of times it's just posting pictures of Kermit the Frog. So I think you give him a mic, and he's definitely more entertaining.
Yeah, Kermit the Sean or something. We got to come up with something with that frog in there. He likes to use that a lot. But Listen, it keeps things entertaining. But listen, Sean is never short of an opinion, which I love.
No.
But listen, when you talk about qualified opinions, Sean's got one of the best ones in the business. And he can definitely talk the business of bodybuilding. So we welcome Sean to come on. Like I said, I would love to hear his opinion on the whole Levrone Olympia thing. We'll try to get an update on that. Like I would love to see some pics. Although I got to be honest, if I was Kevin Levrone, I wouldn't show a picture, a training video, nothing, bro.
We
see it at the
discussed
Olympia.
this yesterday. We're not. Kevin's going to be coming out within the next few weeks or so. Kevin is going to be headed out west to do some training with Sean. We're going to do some video footage of Kevin getting ready for the Olympian. We were discussing yesterday as to whether he would stay covered up. I've been very outspoken that I don't like bodybuilding training videos where people are covered up. You know, be like going to your favorite adult,
stupid.
like everybody's wearing clothes. I think that bodybuilding fans want to see the muscularity. They want to see the detail.
I wouldn't do it.
In Kevin's case, I think everybody wants to have that moment where he walks out on stage. That's the first time you see anything. So I agree that I hope he stays covered up.
Bro, I had one of those old wrestling outfits on he used to wear to sweat, those garbage bag outfits that went up
the vinyl suits.
Yeah, the vinyl outfits, you know what I mean? That's what I would be training in if I'm Kevin. I don't show nothing. I'd look like Arnold back in Stay Hungry where he's got the Batman mask on with a cape. And, get yourself... See, now, judging by the look on your face, my friend, you have dropped the ball once again in your bodybuilding history. Listen, when you're really, really bored this week, go get Stay Hungry, all right, and any of your various means these days, because I have it in VHS, actually, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to help you out.
No.
So go get Stay Hungry. It's the strangest, weirdest movie you've ever seen. It's got Jeff Bridges and Sally Field and Arnold. And he's actually training for this show in there. And he's got this whole, he looks like Batman. He's got this whole outfit on that he trains in. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. But that's where that reference, Peter would know that immediately, of course.
I'll get right on that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Top priority between now and flying out to Vancouver tomorrow night.
Stay hungry.
I'll just go over to my local Blockbuster Video.
Yeah, I think they're still give them beta.
Excuse me, ma'am. Do you have Staying Hungry on VHS? Yes, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sally Field.
Yeah. Ask
right here.
See if they got it in Betamax. All right.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Pretty sure that's closed down now. It's a Church's Chicken or something, or something of that nature.
Speaking of chicken.
Nice segue.
Chicken. Speaking of chicken, anabolic chicken. Rolly Winklers gives the secret to Oxygen, Gym, and Weight. It's anabolic chicken. De La Rosa and Martinez are out there training. And for as much as we like to joke about it, something's going on. Something's going on out there. And it's impossible to ignore. And I can only think, without getting too much into whatever, I can only think it's the purity of supplementation or access to whatever. Because I mean, it's almost ridiculous.
Yeah, you're seeing some guys making some real good physiques coming out of that area of the world. But maybe Ruli's right. Maybe it is some kind of an anabolic chicken. I remember people asking me years ago. Like they would ask questions like, "What kind of foods do you guys eat?" Like I always envision like we had like Weeder Farms. Like you went there and they. What kind of food do you guys eat? It's like, well, the same food you eat. What do you mean? It's regular chicken and rice. And I mean, we don't have like our own food that we have grown. But maybe they do out there. Listen, I'll try to get a report. Maybe we'll have Bada on the show live from Kuwait. We can get some answers. That would be cool. Live from Oxygen Gym.
Yeah, I mean, there's I don't know. Maybe they're pumping oxygen into the gym, like the casinos in Vegas.
See.
Higher oxygen content in the air they're breathing.
Hey, you know what it is?
Production, higher performance.
I got it, bro. Anabolic mist.
Some science for you right there.
Like those misters
they're pumping
in Vegas?
Oxygen.
Like the misters in Vegas that they spray out so you keep cool? Anabolic mist. They have found a way to encapsulate this into a mist form so you're breathing it the entire time.
Yeah, they're doing something out there. I don't know, but De La Rosa and Martinez are out there. After De La Rosa's last show, he said he was going to hang it up and kind of be done for the year. and that was that. And then he kind of changed his mind and said now he's gonna make a run for the Olympia this year. So a little bit of a change of heart. I think everybody kind of runs into those roadblocks, whether it be physically or mentally, where you just say, you know what, I need to take some time off and I need to step back. And sometimes all it takes is a couple slices of pizza and an ice cream sundae and a day of rest before you're like, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm good now. I'm going to get back to training.
I always thought there should be a moratorium on bodybuilders saying anything for 24 hours after a show. Because let me tell you something, the stuff that goes through your head when you're hungry and you're carb depleted and you have no water and you're dehydrated is, like you say, is a world of difference after you get a burger down your throat and a Diet Coke, and all of a sudden all is well in the world. But
all comments made within the next 48 hours are null and void. I cannot be held responsible for the things I said when I was hungry.
I would absolutely do that. But, all right, David, that's going to wrap things up. I am on a flight to North Carolina. Like I say, the first ever Europa Charlotte. It's in the backyard of the Europa headquarters, of course. So looking forward to seeing all the crew out there, Eric Hillman and all his crew over at Europa. And you are off to Vancouver, my friend. So you do your report from there. I'll do my report from here, and we will converge right back here next week on another edition of The Last Rep. All right, buddy. Safe travels, and that's going to do it for David Bay. I'm Bob Chick. We're out.